This is my great-grandmother, Della Fisher. Notice that her high school yearbook quote is, "Oh, that I were a boy." Back when my great-grandmother graduated from Newton High in 1932, women and men were not viewed as equals. And if she wanted to play a sport other than field hockey, basketball, or tennis, well, forget about it. That wasn't an option. And this is me. Yeah, I'm the one in the net. Graduating from Westwood High School in 2019. I've been fortunate enough to have been able to play varsity girls hockey for my high school for the past 4 years. Back when my great-grandmother was in high school, only boys were allowed to play ice hockey. Oh, and I'd like to mention, the basketball team wore skirts. People say that society has come a long way. Then how come female athletes are still being seen as over-emotional?
There's no crying in baseball!
Or not as good as the men? Or even worse, being told you do something like a girl.
You play ball like a girl!
These are the athletes, these are their stories. Kristen Chelman-Marshall is a World Cup gold medalist, a 3-time national champion, and a 4-time All-American at Northwestern. She's a 5-time member of the U.S. National Elite Lacrosse team, and she was on the first ever Westwood Lacrosse State Championship team. She is a U.S. Hall of Famer and considers her greatest achievement the consistency of her wins.
Hi, I'm Kristen Shellman-Marshall, former Westwood High School alumni. I played lacrosse at Northwestern University and also for the U.S. national team.
Jessica Sams is a current assistant coach for the Westwood High girls ice hockey team. She played collegiate hockey for Northeastern and UMass Boston.
So my name is Jessica Sams. I grew up playing ice hockey, field hockey. I did track and field. I also was on the swim team. Hockey was my favorite, ice hockey.
Christiana Bucolis played for Bentley University women's basketball and now is a current assistant coach for the women's basketball team at Bentley.
My name is Christiana Bucolis, and I am one of the assistant women's basketball coaches at Bentley University.
Why do you love playing sports? What has it taught you?
Gosh, sports have taught me so many valuable lessons. I think the first thing is just being a great teammate, especially now in my professional career. I work on teams constantly, so just learning how to collaborate and listen to my teammates and show empathy. And then it's also taught me just how to kind of bounce back in tough situations. So, how to accept loss and move forward and learn from that, learn from my mistakes. So I'm so grateful for everything that sports have taught me.
I love playing sports. It's today it's like the 1 hour, 2 hours a week that I can go and I can just shut off, and all I can focus on, or all I focus on is hockey or this, whatever sport I'm playing. And it's just relaxing. It's calm. It clears your head. What has it taught me? God, everything. It taught me growing up how to resolve conflicts, how to deal with people that you might not necessarily get along with outside of a sport, but because of your sport you have to pass to them. You have to be a team with them. So it teaches you how to get over some things.
I love everything about sports, and it's taught me so much. I love playing sports because I love the competition. I'm super competitive. I love winning, as most people do, but I've learned a lot more from losing than I have from winning. Another thing I love about sports is the ability to work on a team, play with teammates, work with other people. I think that playing sports can teach you endless lessons. Most importantly, responsibility, time management. again, dealing with other people, but also working with other people towards a common goal. Accountability is a big one. When you play sports and you play on a team, you're not only responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for something way bigger than you. And additionally, I think that playing sports and being an athlete teaches you a sort of a different level of work ethic, because you're not just working for yourself. You're working for your teammates. You're working for your coaches. You are working for the betterment of your team. And it just creates something bigger than you. And I think that allows athletes to sort of have to work a little harder.
What is it like being a collegiate or high school athlete or coach? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it was a game changer for me and kind of the trajectory of my life and my career. To be able to be especially a D1 student athlete, it opened up so many doors for me networking wise after I was in school, and it really gave me the ability to pursue my passion of lacrosse and of sports in my career, and I think it kind of gave me that leverage and that opening to more opportunities.
So I played hockey at Northeastern, and it is a huge point of pride for me. It was what I had worked my entire life up to the age of 18 to do. I wanted to play Division I hockey, and I did it for a year. And it was awesome. It means a lot to me that I was able to do that I was able to push myself to do that.
So now on the other side of it, what is it like being a coach and like coaching?
It's extremely frustrating. Because all you want to do is like go out and do it for them, it's frustrating, but I absolutely love it because you can give people guidance or give the players guidance that you may not have had, or you get to pass on things that you had learned, and help them be almost better than you maybe hopefully.
It means everything to me. I think it's what I was born to do. I have always kind of been sort of a natural leader, and I always took that very seriously. I always wanted to be someone who was regarded as a team leader and someone that my teammates could look to or look up to, especially if things got tough. I wanted to be someone that they could rely on. And being a point guard my entire life, I sort of naturally flowed into that role. But being a coach is so many things. And to have the opportunity to impact these wonderful, incredibly hardworking young women who are strong and awesome people, just to be able to be someone that they look up to really means a lot to me. I have had some of the world's greatest coaches in my life. Some of them have been male, some of them have been female. But to be a female in this role and to be someone who's considered a mentor is just a really incredible opportunity, and one that I don't take lightly at all. I think coaches have the ability to impact a lot of lives in a lot of different ways, not just on the court or on the field or on the ice, but off as well in so many different ways. And the greatest part about being a coach is the relationships that you build with your athletes, and that you keep with them when you're no longer coaching them. And so I'm incredibly thankful that this is what I get to do every day. I have such a deep passion for it. I love it. And I'm just very fortunate that I am able to call my job being a college basketball coach. I wake up every day and I'm very thankful for that.
I surveyed 90 athletes. 78.9% of them said the phrase like a girl had been used against them, where 21.1% of them said no. Has the phrase like a girl been used against you? Can you share that experience and what it was like?
Like a girl, yeah, like, oh, you throw like a girl, you skate like a girl. Not necessarily like that, but I've gotten the phrase, well, you're pretty good for a girl. And, you know, towards the end, I remember one of my coaches saying, I mean, like my senior year in high school said, well, I guess you're pretty good for a girl. And I stopped him and I said, no, I'm pretty good. And I just walked away. No, I'm like, you know, that was a point in my life where I finally got a lot of confidence in my, you know, in my playing. And, you know, then I was able to really like, tell people off a little bit. When they said you're good for a girl, no, I'm just good. I'm a good hockey player.
I don't think it's ever necessarily been directly used at me. I've been pretty fortunate to have played a number of sports growing up. I tried just about everything. I love all sports. But I do remember I grew up playing at the YMCA in my hometown a lot. And it was mostly all men or boys that I was playing against. And it definitely took a much longer time for them to respect my game or get me involved in the game or play full speed because I was a girl.
What is it like to be a woman in athletics? Have you ever been treated with injustice? Can you share your experience?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really been treated with injustice, but I've definitely felt moments where it didn't feel equal. And I remember one of those moments being the last game I played in college. And I just thought, you know, even though I was playing for the U.S. national team, which was a great experience, but it wasn't certainly full-time at all. It was some weekends during the year. So to me, like, my lacrosse career in a way was coming to an end full-time. And I thought, wow, at the time I was fortunate enough to be one of the best players in the country in my sport, and yet I didn't have an opportunity to continue to play professionally. You know, there wasn't an Olympic opportunity, and there wasn't a professional opportunity. So that's a moment where I really kind of struggled a little bit in kind of figuring out, well, something needs to change here. And luckily, you know, we just started a pro league in my sport 2 years ago, which I'm so thankful now that young girls have the opportunity to keep playing. And it still has a ways to go, and hopefully they can do that. You know, many can do it as more of a full-time gig. But for me, yeah, that was kind of my toughest part.
So I played on the guys hockey team, and I was on the team my 8th grade, and I had some of the parents said that they wouldn't let their son play with a girl. They're probably gonna get cut anyway. But you know, so they some people actually left the hockey team because I was on it. And which is too bad for them, too bad for everyone that they couldn't get past the fact that, you know, it's not just girls and boys, it's just whether you're good enough to be on the team. I think kicked off, there was another goalie that was supposed to be on the team, and I was better than him, so he got kicked off. The first game of the season, I went out and played, and all of his friends were in the stand, and they started chanting, "We want Chris," because his name's Chris. So it's like my own fans were cheering against me. It was, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. But another thing that taught me, you sort of have to face your fears, because going to school the next day was like, I told her, I don't want to go to school. That was so embarrassing. I'm humiliated. But my parents were like, no, you go to school just like any other day. And yeah.
So you felt humiliated by like playing better than the boys
Yeah.
because of the backlash.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've been really fortunate to work with some really strong and wonderful and really successful women in the athletics field. I've played for them. I now work with them. And then the females in our athletic department are equally strong and successful. So I can't personally say that I've been treated with injustice because I was a female, especially during my professional career as a coach. I do think that female coaches might have a little bit of a shorter leash when it comes to some normal human reaction that they would have. I think sometimes the comments that are made about females and when they're yelling or when they're talking to their players or their teams or reacting to referees, I think gets separated sometimes unfairly. Like if a male were to have that same reaction, it would just be a coach that was reacting to a bad call. But when a female coach does it, it's a woman who is overreacting or being very emotional or being angry. So I have seen that happen, and I think that's a little bit unfair. It's never happened to me personally. I haven't heard it spoken about anyone that I'm personally connected with, but I have seen that happen, and in the media and society sort of has this perception of female coaches, whereas male coaches are just coaches, but female coaches are female coaches. So that's something I have observed, but I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough where I haven't necessarily had any injustice happen to me personally.
Who were your role models growing up? Did you have any female athletes as role models growing up?
I did. I think when I was growing up, I certainly had role models and female role models, but it was harder because we didn't really have social media yet, and there wasn't that much on television. So having access to being able to see some females in athletics was tough. So I really think that a lot of my role models were kind of the high school athletes. I remember coming to see your cousin play, and Andrea Barr, and just a lot of great basketball players and soccer players that I looked up to. So those were some of my key role models when I was young. And then I would say when I got to about sophomore year in high school, my college coach, Kelly Monty-Hiller, I went to one of her camps during the summer, and she instantly became a role model for me. I wanted to emulate everything she did, her passion, her drive, her competitiveness, all of that became a role model throughout my playing career.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know Sarah DaCosta. No, she was the goalie for the U.S. Olympic team when they won in 98. Was it 96 or 98? Whatever. They won. She grew up in the town next to me. And so I remember being like 6 years old or 7 years old, and I was really young. And, one of the coaches that it was me and like 3 other girls that were playing, and he said, "Oh, come in the locker room. I want to show you something. I want you to meet someone." And she was playing on her boys' hockey team, and I was 6, so she was in high school. And he brought us in, and we said hi to her, and I was just like in awe, it's a 6, 7-year-old meeting a 16-year-old, and she, they're like a grown-up, So that made a huge impact in my life, hockey life anyway. Just like knowing that she's doing it, I can do it. Later on, she became my goalie coach, which was kind of a weird turn of events. And I remember I asked her, I was like, do you remember meeting me, having the, she's like, oh my God, I totally remember that. It was so funny, 20 years later we meet each other, or 20 years, maybe 10 years or whatever later, we meet each other that weird way. She was definitely a role model for me. Especially when I was playing, there was almost no role models, and that's really the only one I could think of that was in the hockey world that I could relate to or connect to. Yeah.
My biggest role model was definitely my uncle, who at the time was the longtime head men's basketball coach at Southern New Hampshire University. I just looked up to him in a lot of ways. He would help me out constantly with my game, help me become a better basketball player, but I would go to his practice, watch him coach. I went to a bunch of games growing up. I basically grew up watching SNU men's basketball games, and he just had this awesome way of getting his players motivated and getting them to play super, super hard. And even more importantly, he was a really, really important figure in our community, and he gave a lot of time and effort back to growing the game of basketball in Manchester and working with the youth in the community and keeping the youth basketball programs alive and strong. And those were things that really, really inspired me, and those were things I really, really looked up to him about. Anytime I had a big decision, whether it was basketball or school, he was always there for advice, and so he definitely would have been my biggest role model growing up. As far as female athletes, I loved Mia Hamm. I loved Diana Taurasi. Those were two athletes that I just really looked up to because of how successful they were, how they carried themselves as professionals, as athletes, but again, just mostly how hard they had worked to get to where they were, to make huge names for themselves at a time where it wasn't really super easy to do, especially as female athletes, but those are household names, and they did obviously a ton of work and put in a lot of time and effort to get that far. And just their success, their accomplishments, but also just watching them work and take such pride in their profession was something that I really, really looked up to.
How do you feel society treats or portrays female athletes? Is there anything you would like to change?
Yeah, I think the portrayal of female athletes has definitely come a long way, but there's still a lot more strides to be made. And I think for me, the biggest thing I think about is the image. I think, if a woman athlete is really strong and muscular, a lot of times, people will comment on her not being beautiful or feminine. And a lot of times those female athletes tend to not get the types of sponsorships and the same amount of attention that some other female athletes who maybe are, designated or have those looks that society thinks are more feminine. So that's what I would say is one of the things that needs to continue to change. I think for a man, it doesn't matter how he looks. And certainly there's still judgments made on women athletes.
So I think that female athletes are portrayed now much better than they once were. I think a lot of being a female athlete, even when I was in high school, was seen as, it's like very boyish, mannish, you're not feminine if you play a sport. And I think now that's kind of changing a lot. It's, there's no not as much of a stigma, hopefully, in playing, playing a sport as a girl now today. Things I would change. I hate that, that term, like a girl. I hate when people say like a girl, or I wish it would change to be like a girl was a good thing, instead of a bad thing. Yeah.
I would like to see there not be a difference between female athletes and male athletes. I think that athletes are athletes, and I think if you asked any professional athlete, they would agree. But like I mentioned in one of the earlier questions, I think a lot of times female athlete is separated, whereas male athletes are just considered athletes. So in the media, when you're watching ESPN, it's college basketball and then women's college basketball. It's not college basketball and then men's college basketball. And I think just that slight change where you take out the female, so you don't have to put in male, you don't have to put in female, you just put in athletes or college basketball. I think that would make a difference, because just calling female athletes separates them in itself. And I think it sort of just festers or fosters this this portrayal that female athletes are different and maybe a little inferior to true athletes. And so I would really like to see all athletes just referred to as athletes. And I think that would sort of change a little bit of the narrative quite a bit, make a slow change to just consider male and female athletes all the same, and super successful in their respective sports, whatever they might be.
When I surveyed 90 athletes, 26.7% of them said they've never struggled with body image, whereas 73.3% said that they have struggled with body image in their life. It is very common for female athletes to struggle with body image. Have you or a teammate or friend felt the social pressure to look a certain way?
Yeah. When I was at Northeastern, there were several girls that struggled with eating disorders because they felt they had to look a certain way, but when you're playing at that level of hockey, you don't look like that. You don't look like the size 2 supermodel or whatever, and you're not going to. But they really did a lot of dangerous things to stay and look a certain way. And it was sad because they were really good players. They were really good hockey players, and they didn't have any positive role models, positive people to look up to at that point, right?
I would say that it probably took me a little while to be very confident and totally accept the fact that I would probably have more muscle than most females. I think a lot of what we used to see in the media was this image of perfection. But I think now we're fortunate enough to have a lot more super successful and highly regarded and highly promoted athletes who might not have the normal body type. They're probably more muscular, stronger, maybe heavier set athletes who do exactly what they need to do to be successful in their sport. And it took me a little while to fully accept that, but I'm so happy I did, because it allowed me to comfortably and confidently do what I needed to do to be the best athlete and the best basketball player that I could be. And now, I weight training is part of basketball. Weight training is part of a lot of sports. And I think once I was able to prioritize doing what I needed to do to be the best athlete and the best basketball player that I could be, because that was my main goal, it made it quite a bit easier for me to just sort of throw social pressures to the side and say, this is who I am, this is what I need to do this is what I need to do to be my best. And that's what I did, and that's what I continue to do, to feel healthy, to feel my best. So that's sort of how I've been able to kind of not take on those societal pressures.
When I polled 90 athletes, 18.9% of them felt that their games were equally advertised, whereas 81.1% of athletes felt that female games were not equally advertised. Why do you think female athletes are recognized less than male athletes?
I think it's it's a cultural thing, and I think it's changing because the male football players, the male hockey players, the baseball players, they're all making money. We have been in a society where you pay $400 to go see the Patriots play, and so we do place a value on male sports, but things are changing now. Is it the Boston Pride? Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's Boston Pride now. There's like a lot of female professional athletes out there now, a lot more. And you have to go pay to play, to see them play. So it's a lot. It's a really interesting time for women in sports. Definitely, it's changing.
I think if you look historically at how long men have had the opportunity to play sports, it far precedes the amount of time that women have had the opportunity to play sports. Unfortunately, there are still areas around the world that women are not allowed to play sports. So the opportunity for them to be recognized, for males to be recognized, has been a lot longer than females. I still think we are not even close to equal. There is a lot of work to be done as far as getting female sports and female athletes to be recognized as much as male athletes are. But I think that there is definitely more effort being put in to recognizing female athletes and their accomplishments, and the fact that they are equally as important and incredible as the accomplishments of male athletes. But I think from a media perspective, male sports have been more popular and are still more popular. And so, unfortunately, that will translate to what gets put out on TV, on social media, in news outlets. So I think we still have to work and put in a lot more effort to get the recognition that female athletics deserves, female athletes, female sports. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. We're getting there, but we're not even close.
Is there anything you would like to say to yourself when you were younger, or young aspiring female athletes?
Yeah, I would have told myself to be my best. I think sometimes I would compare myself too much to my teammates in all sports, and a lot of times it was good. It was me, I think, certainly looking to emulate or find a role model and notice good things in my teammates that I could look to incorporate into my game. But sometimes I think maybe I focus too much on that and not trying to be my best individual self and bring out my best skills. So that's one thing I would have told myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like it's so difficult now because you guys do have a lot more support now, and I just think of like that one person that has to play on the boys team because there's no girls program around, and it's just, it gets better. It gets better. The older you get, the more you work at it, the better you're going to become, and you're going to be twice as good as the guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple things that I would love to say to young aspiring female athletes. First, I would say play as many sports that you enjoy playing for as long as you possibly can. It's going to benefit you in every way. And as long as you can keep a good balance, I would highly recommend playing as many sports as you possibly can, that you enjoy playing, that you want to play. I would just promote doing as many things as you can that you enjoy doing, whether it's sports or not. If it's other activities, that's great too. But I think that focusing on one sport too early can really hurt in a lot of ways. So I would just promote trying to do as many things as you enjoy for as long as you can. 2, work hard. Work hard in the classroom. Work hard becoming a better athlete or whatever it is you choose to do. But it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy. If it is easy, then you probably are going to want to work quite a bit harder. Challenge yourself as much as you possibly can, because it's only going to make you better. 3, don't just prioritize being a great athlete. It's equally super, super important to be a great teammate and a great person. And I think that's something that will stay with you in sports and out of sports as well. Just be a good person. Be someone that your teammates and other teammates, other people, other athletes want to be around, want to play with, want to play for. and that'll transcend far past sports as well. And lastly, and probably most importantly, I would really, really urge young female athletes to be confident in themselves. And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but you are strong, you're tough, you're beautiful, and being an athlete is one of the greatest things that can ever be afforded to you. Appreciate it, love it, and let it fuel you and push you. And as much as you possibly can, believe in yourself at all times. Be confident in yourself, because that confidence can only come from you. It can only come from within. So the more that you tell yourself that you can do it, the more you believe that, the more you'll be able to put it to good use in sports and in life.
I put a poll out on my Instagram. 90 athletes responded. Here's what they had to say. But it doesn't have to be this way. We need to be the change in our community. It all starts with viewing us as equals and admitting you can do something like a girl.
I play hockey like a girl.
I play soccer like a girl.
We play football like a girl.
I play lacrosse like a girl.
Fight like a girl. I dance like a girl.
I play soccer like a girl.
I run like a girl.
I play soccer like a girl.
I work out like a girl.
We run like a girl.
I play tennis like a girl.
I play basketball like a girl.
I play hockey like a girl.
I play goalie like a girl.
I play football like a girl.
I play hockey like a girl.
I play basketball like a girl.
That's how you dribble like a girl.